we'll get cracking now shortly. We've got 3 minutes till we start, but we're just going to be covering Bitcoin basics. Hands up if you have, just while there's still people coming into the room. Hands up here if you've done any Bitcoin basics. Lovely, yeah, perfect. And the majority is haven't. That's good. That's what we're here. That's what we're here for. So we're just going to give you a basic overview of what Bitcoin is, how it works, why it has value, and we'll have time for a little bit of Q&A at the end. And if you have any questions during the workshop, just type them into the chat there. Okay, there's still a good few people coming in on Zoom. We'll just let them in, and we'll get cracking then shortly. Happy Wednesday evening. Most of the time I do these on a Thursday, so I'll be all confused now for the rest of the week. I'll not show up to work on Friday. I'll be thinking it was Saturday. Lovely stuff. Just a show of hands there of everyone. If you don't have your camera on and you're able to stick it on there. It's always good to see the faces who are on. We have a good lot of yous there. But show of hands. Anyone here own any Bitcoin? Okay, sweet. Anyone here own any crypto other than Bitcoin? Anyone here not own any Bitcoin or crypto? Happy days, deadly. Okay, well, we'll help you make a better decision in the next half an hour or so when we get cracking. Who's this? Bernadine and Jerry is coming. We better let the lads in there. Push over. A few more lads coming in. We'll fill the room yet. What time are we? 29. So we've got a couple of minutes. Happy days. We'll get cracking. Did anyone see that announcement today? Anya's following that from, I think it was Department of Justice. It was coming out. I actually thought it was going to be bad news, but it was really bullish news. If you listen to how they speak, I really think America is getting fully behind Bitcoin. They just can't admit it yet, but they're positioning themselves to try and embrace the thing because they know it's going to allow them to continue their global domination and to retain their world reserve currency status. Here's Ricky. But it was very bullish. It was more or less we need to the space is legitimate, the asset class is legitimate, but we just want to clean up all the criminals. We want to clean up the money laundering. We want to clean up the criminal activity. We're going to stamp that out because it's harming the investment asset class. So that's definitely a net positive for the space. And I thought the sentiment there, I was really surprised on. I thought it was going to be, oh, this is going to be bad news. This is how we get to 10 grand Bitcoin now. We're going to have Binance be banned in the US, or we're going to have stable coins be outlawed or something crazy big like that. But it was 100% the opposite of what I expected. But that's sort of how I always invest, is you prepare for the worst and then you're never surprised. And things work. Okay, we're just on half, so we're going to get cracking. I'm going to share my screen here for everyone's here on the Zoom, and if anyone comes late, we have a good crew of people on. We'll do a Q&A at the end. Okay, they're still coming, so we'll just let these guys in. We'll do a Q&A at the end, so any questions that you have and you want answered, hang around to the end, and we're going to hopefully teach you a little bit about Bitcoin. Just jumped off a podcast with someone who actually works in pensions in one of the top 4 companies in the country. By Jesus, lads, if you're not paying attention to Bitcoin, you should, because these lads are really paying attention to it. And although legally and through their compliance, they can't touch the thing, personally, they're all over it. Okay. Meanwhile, you're listening to what you're being told in the mainstream, which is Bitcoin bad. Just invest into pensions, which are, well, you can watch the podcast to get my take on pensions. But that'll be out next week. I think a lot of people are being misled to that thing. And when it comes to allocating capital, like pensions are meant to invest into things that are scarce. But if everyone's doing it mindlessly, how are you investing into something that's scarce? You're not. Your money's just been dumped into a Ponzi scheme, and you're just hoping that it continues. And betting that a Ponzi scheme continues for 10 years or 20 years is a crazy bet, in my opinion. Anyway, let's get, because that's what we're here to talk about. Genie, this room is filling up fast. There's a lot of people still piled in, so we'll just get the guys in. One thing I will say, and I've been saying this since Bitcoin With Dinny started in 2020, is that nobody questions money in the good times. And since 2020, I've been saying we're going into the bad times. Most people are experiencing it now. You're seeing the cost of living. You're seeing your euro not buy as much things anymore. So we're paying attention, and people who would have been a lot more ignorant or not needed to look at Bitcoin are now much more open to trying to understand this thing. And realize that the people who already understand it, why they're so hopeful, why they're so positive, why they act very different than people who don't understand Bitcoin, or people who only understand it at a surface level, which is basically just focusing on the price, not the technology. You're better off not think of Bitcoin as a get rich quick, more so try and understand the technology and understand the future of the asset, and then make your decisions based on that. If you're here to try and make fast money, or you think Bitcoin's an easy way of making money, I'll just burst your bubble straight away and say it's not. It's an easy way to lose all your money unless you get educated and spend the time. It's called Bitcoin works on proof of work. Okay, the same way that people who are very fit, that's proof of work. They look fit because they've trained their ass off in the gym and they eat well. And people who haven't done the work in that regard, they won't look that way. And that's what proof of work is. We live in an increasingly woke culture, which is in argument to reality. And that would want the results but without doing the work. But that's not how physical reality works. That's not how our world works. And that's why, wokeness is doomed to failure, I suppose. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to crack on. I'm going to mute everyone just while I'm doing the presentation. And then we'll be able to get the questions at the end. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. Lovely. Keep the cameras on, okay? So if I see you scrolling on the phone, I'll be able to call you out. I'll confiscate that thing. Okay, this is important now. This is your financial future. You get this right, you'll be glad you were here. You get it wrong, and you'll just continue looking for the next fad and chasing the next pump of whatever it is, fad. Here we go. Let's go. Wednesday evening. People have things to do, places to go, and I won't take too much of your time. So let me just move that down there. There we go, view. We'll go enter full screen. All right, awesome. Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Bitcoin basics, sweet. Okay, so look at the head of me. Do I look like a financial advisor? Financial advisors don't go walking during the day, okay? They don't go surfing. They don't ride motocross bikes. They work, okay? So I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a Bitcoiner. I'm an entrepreneur. So don't take anything that you hear as financial advice. Lovely. Quick intro to myself. I started at rock bottom. Rock bottom was when I lived in a caravan, that exact caravan behind me. And I was also recovering from a broken back. So I think regardless of where people are starting their financial journey, I'm pretty sure I beat most of you because I started behind you. Because not only had I a massive disability, I also had zero money in the bank. And it was just by spending a lot of my time and my money on education and actioning all that education that I got myself to a position where I had optional retirement before I was 40. And I don't say that to boast or brag, or I'm nothing special, I'm no genius. By hearing me waffle, you're going to realize this guy isn't no genius. He's just a fucking wild action taker with an open mind, and he's a bit crazy. So I believe anyone can improve their financial situation if they're more open and you don't have to follow the status quo and you're prepared to push yourself a little bit. Now, next slide there, Dini. Okay, boom. So traditionally our pensions are returning about 7% a year. Inflation is much higher than that. So all of our pensions, if you have a traditional pension, they're not even keeping up. They're just destroying our wealth. Bitcoin has increased 30 million% with massive volatility over the last 14 years. And sorry, I'm just admitting, lads, here I'm multitasking badly. And then it's like, well, why don't people own it? If it's the highest performing asset on the planet, surely people can just look at the figures themselves and go, I gotta have a piece of this thing. I don't really understand it, but like it's outperformed everything over the last 14 years, and maybe I need to own a little bit of it. Right, do that. But we don't, because mainstream has a bad narrative about Bitcoin. But of course it does. Like, when will you ever get good advice from mainstream? Your government is still telling you to eat 9 carbohydrates a day with a food pyramid, even though we know that drives obesity, cancer, heart disease, and everything that kills everyone. But it's a massive machine, and the machine, as my accountant will say, the horse has to be fed, and the money works on money, and it's very bad money, so it gives bad signals. And here we are. Of course, mainstream is going to have nothing good to say about Bitcoin, which is an emerging asset. It's a new financial system where people can opt into it. No one's forced into it like you're forced into, the euro system or the dollar system. It's fully optional. So just bear that in mind. And there's no way something can increase. That's why I said with volatility, Bitcoin goes up a lot. It's gone up over 30 million%. Sometimes it goes down 50%. It's part of the ride, baby. If you don't like the volatility, stay in a pension, where you're getting 7% every year, and some years you're beating inflation, some years you're not. That's the difference in the different assets. But what is Bitcoin? Is it money? Yes, it's money. It fulfills the characteristics of money. Is it currency? Yes, it's currency. It's used as a currency in certain parts of the world. This is where people get hung up on it, though. They're like, "Oh, I can't buy a coffee with Bitcoin in Dublin, Dinny. It must be failing." It's like, shut up, you idiot. You can't buy a coffee with your Tesla stock, or with your traditional pension, or with your classic cars, or your wine, or your watch collection. That's not why we buy these things. We buy them to protect and store wealth or generate wealth. So don't get hung up over silly arguments that make no sense. Bitcoin's also digital property. So just like I have physical property, physical property now, I also have digital property. And that just means that I can get property rights to it. I can own the asset. Okay. People will struggle with that because they just simply don't understand what digital property is or digital ownership is. But this is the invention of Bitcoin. It allowed digital property rights. Before that, we hadn't got it. Because you can right click and copy anything. So how do you have digital scarcity? You couldn't before Bitcoin. You relied on a central database policing it. You relied on trusting someone. But with Bitcoin, the beauty of it is you don't have to trust anyone. And of course, it's an investment asset. And that's probably why we're all here this evening. That's what sucks you in. That's what sucked me in. It's Bitcoin's inbuilt marketing system, and that every 4 years it goes on these big price runs and draws people in. And then what happens is the floor, okay, this is why Bitcoin has never crashed to zero, because the amount of people who choose to hold it for the longer term is constantly growing. So although it crashes and it has huge volatility, it never goes to zero because there's a base of people who decide, no, I'm holding this for the long term. And every year that base gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, and that's why the volatility, yes, it's volatile, but with volatility, it's trending higher. Patrick, come in. A lot of late lads here. Why does Bitcoin have value is one of the most important questions to ask yourself, I suppose, if you're only interested in it as an investment vehicle or as a way to protect or store or generate wealth. In different parts of the world, Bitcoin is used as a medium of exchange and a way to transfer value and money. But in Ireland, we have the euro, we have Revolut, we have our banking systems. That's all more convenient for us. And because Bitcoin isn't treated well within because you pay tax on Bitcoin, you're better off just using euros. Euros are for spending, and for me, Bitcoin is for saving and accumulating, because Bitcoin's going up in value over time and the euros are going down in value over time. But why is it going up in value? I like to start with the gold narrative. Bitcoin is much bigger than gold, and it goes into all aspects of life, from politics to macroeconomics to computer science to human incentives, to money, to philosophy, loads of things. But basically, if you just imagine Bitcoin as digital gold, okay, there's a physical gold coin. It's a 1 ounce gold coin. I'm holding it in my hand. It's got a physicality, okay? This gold coin has got durability. If I drop this on the seabed and it sits there for 200 years, it's still going to look the same. It's not going to corrode or rust away. It's very durable. It's portable. I can move it around. Okay, it's divisible. I can melt it down. It's pain. I probably can't, but it can be melted down. Okay, it's fungible. I can exchange equal coin, equal weight. They have the same value. Doesn't matter which one you have. It's recognizable. Okay, but really you got to do some tests on it. How do you know it's not tungsten plated gold? How do you know I didn't buy this on Amazon for for a $5? You have to trust me. Okay, and then the most important characteristic of gold is that it's scarce. Okay, the scarcity and value. All right, and that allows it to store value. For how long? Gold has stored value for thousands of years. About 5,000 years of monetary history gold has. Okay, now before gold we had silver. That's 1 ounce of silver. That's worth, don't know what the price of silver is, around 30 euros. This yoke is worth around 1,600. Again, I'm not sure the price of gold. I haven't checked it in a while. Okay, but why is this one 30 and this one 1,600? But because silver is much more abundant. It's not as scarce as gold. It's easier to mine. It's easier to produce. We can find more. Gold is scarce. Gold was one of the scarcest thing on the planet before Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin shares all the characteristics of gold. Bitcoin is durable. It's software. Software doesn't wear out. It doesn't suffer from Newtonian physics. Okay, it's portable. Much more portable than gold, because I can move Bitcoin anywhere in the world instantly and for free. Can't do that with gold. There's a cost to it and there's a time for it to happen. Okay, Bitcoin's divisible. Again, I can't break up my coin. I can only sell it for 1,600. If I have 1,600 euros worth of Bitcoin, I can break off a penny's worth. Okay, thousands of times. I can break it up any way I want. It's fungible. Every single Bitcoin on the planet is worth the same. Every Satoshi on the planet, which are like the pennies of Bitcoin, a sat or a Satoshi, one Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million units and they're called Satoshis. Okay, but they all have the same purchasing power. It doesn't matter which one you have. You know, the same way, look, conveniently, I've got 2 euros here. It doesn't matter which one you have, they'll both buy the same stuff, okay? Even though one is, you know, got a head of some lad with glasses on it, don't know where that's from, and this one has an eagle on it. You know, so they look different, but they've the same purchasing power. They're fungible, okay? So gold has that, and then the most important characteristic of Bitcoin is the scarcity. And that was the first thing I learned about Bitcoin, which got me interested in it, because I've been an entrepreneur since I was 8 years of age, and I understand scarcity and value. I understand if you can create a company and you're doing something that's scarce that other people aren't doing, well, there's value in that. Okay, so there's only 21 million Bitcoin, and there can only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, and no human can change that. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. No one's in control of it. There's no CEO. There's no one in charge of it. No one can make the decisions to change it. It just works on these unique set of human incentives and protocols that make it immutable, meaning it can't be changed. So that makes Bitcoin finite. Gold is scarce, and that's why it's so valuable. And that's why for thousands of years, rich people own gold, because it's how they can protect their wealth over years. Okay. But we mine gold at 2% a year. So it constantly expands. If you hold your wealth in gold long enough and you just hold it in gold, eventually you lose all the money. Okay. Because we're always creating more of it. However, with Bitcoin now, we've created digital scarcity, which is a first for humanity, that we have something that's actually finite, and money that can be finite. And when you bring something that's scarce into our regular financial system, which relies on, it's built on debt, that's how our financial system works. And debt is basically means the creation of money. That dilutes the money in existence. So that means that anything that's fixed or scarce or desirable is always going to go up in value. All right, and you can see that. Look back 10 years, how much was the nice car? Look back 20 years, it was cheaper. Look back 30 years, it was cheaper. Okay, in whatever, in a decade or two, everyone's going to be a millionaire because their property is just going to be worth $1 million. You know, in Dublin now, there's house and stay houses that wouldn't have been very nice places to live, and I see they're priced at like 500,000. They're $500,000. When I was a kid, they would have been called, like, you don't live in that kit. But like, this is to where we're trending, that all property will be worth $1 million. So everyone will be a millionaire. So a millionaire doesn't carry the same purchasing power as it used to have. Okay. So gold and Bitcoin, they share the same properties, and Bitcoin is basically just a digital gold. That's the gateway to understanding it. Okay. And the analogies I use for that is like, there's a CD. That's a physical thing I can hold in my hand. Do we use them anymore? No. Why not? Because you've got digital music. It's much better. Instead of 12 songs that scratch and I need this one thing in my hand, I can have all the songs in the world. I can access them anywhere in the world. They don't scratch or wear out because they're software. They're fully durable. That's why we've demonetized these. We don't use them anymore. There's a physical coin, okay, and we've got a digital version of it. And it's called Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is, or another example could be like filing cabinets, physical things. They take up physical space, but we have the cloud now, digital storage. We're digitizing our world. Digital maps. We used to have them in the car. I remember being a kid going away on holidays with my dad. I don't use them anymore. We use digital maps, because the digital map you don't just look at, it tells you where to go. So it's orders of magnitude better than the physical. Everything in that picture is in your pocket. See, the world is trending to more towards digitization. The world only trends, humans only trend towards technology, never away from technology. Never in the history of humanity, even when we were going around with leaves on our crotches, did we move away from technologies, only towards them. Okay? So it'd be foolish to think that we're going to go towards technology on everything except money. No, money will just keep it analog. We'll hold those physical things. And it's a silly argument because most people aren't comfortable with Bitcoin. Like, they use the euro. They don't realize that I think it's something like 95% to 97% of euros are digital. They don't exist. They're not vault. They're just inputs on a database on their phone. Okay, so you're already using digital money. The only thing is, with the euro, it's a money you can never own. With Bitcoin, it's a money you can own. Okay, when you own your Bitcoin, you own it. It's like holding your gold in your hand. No one can take it from you, unless they physically break into your house and steal your gold coin. But it's a lot easier to secure your Bitcoin through multi-sig and other ways. Okay, euros don't have a fixed supply. They constantly expand their supply, which is why they destroy wealth and they transfer wealth from people who don't understand the financial system or who are financially educated, transfers wealth from those people, exchange their time for money, they go to work, they get their money, they put it in the bank account, and over time that money buys less and less stuff. Okay, Bitcoin has a fixed money supply, so nobody can print Bitcoin. And that's beautiful. And that's important, and that matters in the future, because one by one, people are copping onto this thing. And that's why Bitcoin's became adopted over 14 years. The adoption has gone straight up. So we look at the price, and that, as investors, which is not what investors focus on. Investors focus on value, not price. But, most of us aren't good investors. We look at the price of Bitcoin to decide whether we need to own it or not. And if it's going up, we want it, which is the worst time to buy it. And if it's going down, we don't want it, which is the best time to buy it. In my experience, not financial advice, just how it generally investing, you buy low, you don't buy high. So Bitcoin is a money you can own. It's a money with a fixed supply, and it's a money that you can spend permissionlessly, peer to peer. So it's basically like a cash in the digital world. Software has taken over our world, and we won't really bother going into that. Like, look at this. Look what we're doing. We're talking over software. 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been doing this. I'd have been booking out a hotel somewhere. I'd had half the amount of people. It would cost me a fortune to do it, so I probably wouldn't have even bothered, especially not on a Wednesday night. But with software, it allows me to bang this thing on. Zoom cost me like 11 quid. I can talk to anywhere. I run my business from Zoom, basically. It cost me 11 quid a month. Software makes everything cheaper, and eventually software and technology makes things free. And then if you really think about that, okay, why, if technology is making everything cheaper and things trend to zero, make stuff free eventually, why is my cost of living going up? It doesn't make sense if you rationally think about it, but we never do. Gold and Bitcoin, okay? So Bitcoin is digital gold. Gold's worth about 10 trillion. Bitcoin is worth under $500 billion. I think it's 400 billion at the moment. So it's a baby, okay? And, if Bitcoin takes over as digital gold, which it likely does over the next couple of decades, that brings one Bitcoin to around 7 figures just on that one narrative. I'm not talking about taking over as a world currency. I'm not talking about it taking over as store of value assets, which are worth 400 trillion. Just taking over gold's 10 trillion brings it to a 7-figure Bitcoin. And this is why we're bullish. It's not a sure thing. It's not a sure bet, but the more you understand the technology, the more you sort of are like, I can't find a way that this doesn't happen in all the thousands of hours I've dug into this thing. So Bitcoin has still a lot of upside in it, and Bitcoin and crypto are very different. That's why I call this Bitcoin basics, not crypto. When people come to the space, a lot of them get sucked into crypto, and there's loads of narratives and bullshit, and generally people get what's called rug pulled, and that you invest into something and you buy it at the top. Some people have bought it for free or just were given it for free, but you've bought it, and even though it might only be in 0.001 of a cent and you put 1,000 quid into it, but then it goes down to 0.00001 cents and you lose 90% of your money. And a lot of people that's their journey into crypto. But if you separate Bitcoin and crypto and spend a bit of time trying to understand Bitcoin, I think you'll do a lot better and realize it's not a get rich quick. It's more like, as we do in Bitcoin With Dinny, my company and my consulting, we teach people how to build this into their pensions, and have a 10-year outlook on this thing, or at least a 6-year outlook or a 5-year outlook, or minimum, like people. If you're not prepared to hold this thing for 4 years, it's not for you and you shouldn't touch it with a barge pole. But who else gets this? We've had Elon Musk and Tesla buy Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet. And sometimes people will say, like, can I get my money out of Bitcoin? You can sell Bitcoin on Christmas night when you can't sell anything else on the planet. Tesla even sold some Bitcoin last year because they were worried about recession that we're going into. They wanted liquid cash. And it's so easy. If Tesla can liquidate a couple of billion of Bitcoin, it just shows how liquid this thing is, that it's an open market that anyone can buy and anyone can sell at any time of the day or night or day of the year. Jack Dorsey left Twitter to work on Bitcoin's adoption, to work on Bitcoin companies. And that's because he sees it not just a financial vehicle, but a net positive for the world, for people who don't have financial services, for people who live under more authoritarian governments than we do, and who basically have their wealth stolen from them. And he sees Bitcoin as a solution to that. And because he's made all his money, that could build Twitter. What's left? Just work on things that give me value. Or Commonwealth Bank in Australia, one of the biggest banks out there. They're working on an initiative now to allow their Australian customers to custody their Bitcoin with them and to be able to buy Bitcoin through the bank. That'd be like AIB Bank in Ireland, selling Bitcoin and custodying Bitcoin. So when you look to see what's happening in the space, don't look at Ireland, because we are years behind what's happening in the world. In America, it's between 25 and 30% of Americans have some sort of Bitcoin ownership exposure. Like, that's huge. We're nowhere near like that in Ireland. So that's why if I go to a party and you're talking to people, it's like, we are years behind. We're getting left behind. Everyone's looking at what David McWilliams is telling him, and he just doesn't have the openness to, or the flexibility of mind to actually explore Bitcoin and give it the due diligence that it needs. For years, my accountant has been telling me that, Bitcoin's a scam. Is that not just for buying drugs on the internet? And I was delighted when KPMG put Bitcoin on their balance sheet last year, the year before last, because they have to go to them and say, these are the largest accountancy firms in the world. Why do they own this scam thing? Why have they exchanged their dollars to hold some Bitcoin? And actions speak louder than words, and you got to be careful of where you're taking advice for. But this is what we're seeing across the board, is that companies are choosing to take some of their dollars, which are trending down in time, and exchange them for Bitcoin, which they're willing to hold. Okay, they want money that they just want to keep, and they put it in what's called a Bitcoin reserve treasury strategy. So they hold some of their treasury in Bitcoin, which would be similar to the sort of pension strategy that we use in Bitcoin with Dinny. What are the risks? It's investing, so there's guaranteed to be risk. If you can make money, there must be risk. If you can't make money, then there's no risk. Okay, so when there's no risk in Bitcoin, it'll be a 7 or an 8-figure asset. Until then, there's risk. Fantastic. It's speculative. That means you can make money off it. All right, but the risk really comes in not knowing what you're doing. For me, someone who's blown up now on social media, so who's really going viral on TikTok and everything, is a guy called Alex, who owes me. I'm not very good with Alex's second name. Okay, Alex has built $100 million companies, multiple $100 million companies. What most people don't know is that Alex was actually my coach in 2013. Right now, you'd probably have to pay Alex 100 grand, sit down with him for an hour. But a good few years ago, I was fortunate enough when he was coming up, because I invest into my education, always have. And at the time, it cost me 16 grand to be coached by Alex. But it was, again, the only reason why I was able to retire early was because I invested into my education. I hired the best coaches, and I continually reinvest into my education, because the highest return you get is on your education, not on Dinny tell me which altcoin to buy, Dinny tell me when to buy. That's all nonsense. That's how to stay poor. You're looking for the shortcut, you're not prepared to do the work. Okay, so the risk comes in not being prepared to do the work and looking for the easy way, looking for the quick fix, looking for the, just give us the secret there, Dinny, you do it for me, as opposed to teach me. But what I see as the biggest mistakes people make are, number one is lack of education, thinking it's an easy way. Okay, how to buy and how to sell. People don't understand what a private key is or how to self-custody. They want the lazy way. I just buy it on Revolut. Just buy it on FTX. Just buy it on Celsius. Okay? A lot of people lost all their Bitcoin and their crypto over the last year by making these mistakes. Scams and hacks. ever present, unfortunately. If you're on social media, if you follow me on Instagram, probably at least once a week do you get a message from someone pretending to be me, offering you some great financial scheme where you can send me some money. So that's why I say to people, never send me money. If you want to do any of my courses, book in through my website. I will not send you a private message with a great opportunity for you. That's clearly a scam. And bad decisions. Okay, and bad decisions generally come from crypto trading, where people think they need to trade this thing. When I lived in a caravan, all I wanted to do was get rich because I was envious, jealous of people who had money. And I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I'd probably still carry that with me today. And so I read a lot of books on how to get rich, on how to generate money, on how to get wealthy. And the common theme of all the best investors was that they just bought things and held them. They didn't sell them, they didn't trade them, they didn't get in and out of them. They just held them and they were patient. And like investing is really binary. It's either you buy it or you sell it. That's it. It's just a yes or no decision. But like everyone gets it wrong. It's ironic. I don't know how. But so yeah, crypto traders are people who are trying to beat the market, trying to get rich quick. They're trying to, be smarter than a market. But like the failure rate of crypto trading is 90% of people lose money. I don't like those odds. When I left school, I played poker when online poker was a thing, just to supplement my income because I wanted to make as much money as I could. And I studied the poker game and I played it by maths and probabilities. Didn't play it by luck or gambling or like you see it in the films. I just played it using maths and counting cards and using probabilities. And I done all right. Like I supplemented, I worked in the day and I played poker all night. Okay, but I'd never enter a hand where I was like, I'm 90% chance I'm not going to win this hand. Not a hope. Like you want to be the other way around. Okay, so that's why trading is a loser's game. Most people who trade lose their money. The platforms that you're trading on are basically selling your positions to bigger traders so they know where they can liquidate you. So it's just foolish to trade. No one's making money trading crypto except the people who are teaching courses on how to trade crypto. But if you flip that to an investing strategy, like anyone who's invested into Bitcoin for 4 years or more has made money. So I can go from a 90% chance of failure to a 100% chance of success if I can delay my gratification from I'm going to get rich by the afternoon to I'm going to get rich in 4 years. I'd rather that. I'll trade it all day long. And then there's security protocols that people don't understand. People don't understand how to manage their private key, what a hardware wallet is, where to buy their Bitcoin, what are different types of Bitcoin you can buy, fake Bitcoin, and are they dealing with legitimate counterparties? And then things like airdrops and all this other stuff where people just get themselves into trouble or storing their private key on a digital device or taking a photograph of their backup seed or storing it on Google Drive or, all this stuff that us as Bitcoiners is like, this is common sense. But that's not fair for me to say that because it took me years to realize this is common sense. In the beginning, I didn't know any of this. For my first couple of years, I was learning slowly. And that's again why education is key. Education is critical because you have to pay either way. Either pay by your mistakes and your time, or you'll pay for someone to teach it. When I came into crypto, I spent just like I did with my other business. I hired, some of the most successful people in the space who I could actually afford, who would take my money to teach me everything they knew, so that I didn't have to waste my time on my mistakes. And I focus on my return on my investment. It doesn't matter how much something cost. If it cost me 16 grand, that doesn't matter. That helped us get that business to 7 figures. So it was an amazing investment. And that's always been my outlook as an investor, is price is irrelevant, return on investment is always my focus. And the biggest risk today is that you don't own any Bitcoin. In my opinion, not investment advice, but my opinion is that this thing is monetizing, adoption is growing. Every year more people own Bitcoin, whether they're tiny entities owning fractions of Bitcoin, like 0.01 of a Bitcoin, wallet addresses for that all-time high, wallet address 0.1 of a Bitcoin all-time high, wallet addresses, entities owning 1 Bitcoin, different entities, all-time high. So all these adoption metrics, which where me as an investor, I'm like, well, okay, the price is the price, but like, does anyone want this thing? And in the future, will they want it? Because if more people want this thing in the future, you can be damn sure the price is going to be up. And to me, what it looks like is, yes, adoption is continually growing and more entities are choosing to own it. And as more regulation comes in and banks are now putting framework in place to custody it and sell it, to me, it's like, it's silly not to have a position. And my parents even own Bitcoin, and they couldn't understand it. And how I got them into it was I said, give me 5% of your life savings. And I took it, stole it from them, and I bought Bitcoin with it. Okay? Tried to explain it to them, they couldn't get it. Of course they couldn't. My dad doesn't use the internet, he doesn't understand the digital world. But my thesis was, if I lose 5% of your life savings, it's not going to hurt your retirement. But I know that sitting in cash is losing 10 to 20% a year to inflation, regardless of the figures that the news will put out. Look at the cost of living. Electricity went up 400% last year. That's a little bit more than the figures we're being told of inflation. So I just took their money. Now, while their 95% that I didn't touch has trended down in purchasing power, the little bit of Bitcoin, the 5% exposure, is trending up. Okay? And I expect in enough time, they're going to swap. That tiny little allocation is going to have more purchasing power than the 95% we took in cash, or left in cash. So for a small little risk, 5% risk, I was able to hedge them. Okay? And you don't even have to go as big as 5%. I was greedy. You can start with 0.5% or 1%. But to be no Bitcoin, you're basically betting that this Ponzi scheme of the euros continues, and you can, or the euros and the dollar. But you can already see, like, we reach peak globalization. It looks like the world is now starting to not cooperate as much. China wants to get away from the dollar. Fucking the euro is a mess. Like, the euro is one of the worst currencies now at the minute for retainer value. The value's falling apart. You'd be better off transferring all your euros to dollars. But like, Germany seemed to be carrying Europe. Like, that's not going to last too long. Eventually they're going to go, here, listen, while the Italians want to just drink wine and sit in their arse and we're all busting our balls working and carrying them, we don't like this system anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be foolish to think that can continue for the long term. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Bitcoin's adoption doesn't rely on the euro falling apart, the dollar not being the world reserve currency. Not at all. All this stuff could be 10, 20, 30 years or beyond my lifetime away. But Bitcoin is monetizing. It's been monetized for 14 years. The incentive for everyone is to own some Bitcoin because it's the scarcest thing on the planet, and all humans are looking for scarcity. That's why we buy a pension. That's why we buy stocks. That's why we buy a classic car. That's why we buy a property. We're looking for somewhere scarce to protect our value over time. Okay? Bitcoin is the only thing on the earth now that's finite, that humans can't create more of. So as the demand for Bitcoin goes up, the supply is going down. So unlike everything, when the demand goes up, the supply goes up, which brings the price down. With Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. The demand could go through the roof. There's still only 21 million Bitcoin. Michael Saylor's bought 130,000 of them. There's over 50 million millionaires in the world. So there's not even enough for every millionaire on the planet to own one Bitcoin. And that's why I pay attention to it. Yeah. Opportunity to retire early. I'm going to tell you about my course that I give away for free, and you may have a little look at it. We use Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoins, DeFi, altcoins. It's called the Bitcoin Bootcamp, and it basically fast tracks you. There's two ways to learn. Tony Robbins taught me this. He called me up. He says, Dinny, there's two ways to learn. I says, right, Tony, come on, sick of your ramblings, tell me. But he says, you can figure something out, okay, over a decade, and then you can call yourself an expert on it. Or what you can do is you can pay someone who's spent a decade, wasted all their time, wasted all their money, pay them, okay? Do it over a weekend, and they have a decade to profit off that knowledge. And that stuck with me for years, and that's why I've always invested into education, because it saves me time. The only things that are finite are time and Bitcoin, okay? So I like to buy my time. And that wasn't always the way. When I had no money, I couldn't. I had to use my time to build up a pool of capital. But once I had some money, I realized I could buy my time. And that's basically what my bootcamp does, is rather than you having to make the mistakes, which ultimately costs you money, if you're just someone who wants to be taught how to do it right, you use my knowledge, my expertise to fast track your success. And that's my hack that I've used on everything. So it'll basically give you the knowledge that you can be 3 years into space, and you still won't have as sound knowledge as you'll get on the bootcamp course, because it cuts through all the nonsense, cuts through all the mistakes. It summarizes everything, because it's not that we don't have information. The problem in today's world is we have too much information. But remember, we have too much information, but we only have a finite amount of time. So you're not sure where to allocate your time. And that's where investing comes in. And I'm not just saying investing in me, investing in anything. It means you save your time. But in the bootcamp, you will clearly understand what to invest into, how much to invest. It's much less than you think for most of us. How to buy securely, how to get your money out any time, how you can legally not pay tax. The tax of owning Bitcoin is much more favorable than the tax of owning investment properties and these other stuff. Altcoins, what to buy. I share my personal list and why. And you get a simple, personalized for your early retirement crypto portfolio and much more. And that sells on my website for 250 quid. And I've had fellas on the course who sell other digital products and say, Dinny, you should be charging $2.5 for that course. And I say, I know, but I'm not as good a salesman as you. But anyway, I give that away for free. There's some, testimonials from it. I won't even bother leaving them up there for too long, but you can see there that was just someone that gave me a Facebook message just to say, Dinny, your advice, not like all the advisors in the bull market, you'll notice they're all gone. They changed their tune, telling you what to buy. My advice has been the same. We built a strategy and a thesis and we actioned it. And it doesn't matter whether the market's going up or down or sideways. It works either way. And that's how I protect. We protect people from the markets, from the short-term movements. Okay, so who wants the option, work or retire? Most people would pick retire. But the question is how. And that's why I created the Retire Early Club. And not only does the Retire Early Club pull together all the crypto knowledge, but it brings together all the other knowledge that I gained from going from mobile home, from where I started my journey, because it was more than just tell me what to buy. It's a mindset. It's an understanding. It's, learning how to manage yourself, because you're the only asset you have, or you're the best asset you have. So we pull all that in the Retire Early Club. And there's obviously a huge proponent, and we build what's called a Plan B pension around it. It's done, the lessons go out via email, and every 2 weeks we do a live Zoom workshop that's on tomorrow evening with the guys. But we go through bulletproof security of how you actually custody this thing. The beauty of it, these digital assets, is that they're what's called bearer assets, which means you can own them, you can hold them. And but most people don't understand that, so they just buy them and they leave them with a counterparty, and then the counterparty, of course, goes bankrupt. Why wouldn't the counterparty go bankrupt? If you understand startup companies, I've started loads of companies. Some have failed, some have gone on to have loads of success, and I've exited them successfully. Okay, but a startup company is like trading; it's a 90% chance of failure. Okay, so by people buying and leaving things with a startup company that's only on the go 2 years or 3 years, you need to understand that company is 90% chance not going to be here in a 5-year period. And in the second 5 years, it doesn't get any better. Companies are likely to fail 90% after they've survived 5 years. So, the whole invention of this thing was it's a bearer asset, but most people don't understand how to bear the asset, or how to secure the asset, how to back it up, and how to keep their retirement secure, and how to set it up that someone can inherit it if something happens to them. Unplanned, if they're in an accident or whatever. We go through planning, because I would say, like, Google Maps will take you anywhere in the world, but it needs to know where you are. Most people don't know where they are. They don't do a financial statement. Any of us who run businesses, you'll know that you'll make your business decisions on a financial statement, your cash flow. But personally, we don't do this. And then we wonder why our personal finances aren't getting us to our dream destination. It's because we don't know where we are. So in the Retire Early Club, we make people, where are you? Let's get your balance sheet filled out. So I just send out an Excel sheet and everything, and people fill it in. It gives them a clear picture of their liabilities, their assets, their incomes, and all their expenses. And it's just a one sheet, and 3 times a year we just go and we update it, and we're able to see that we're growing our financial position, our net worth, or we can see how we can allocate, where we can invest if we need to invest more, how we can find the money to invest more. We go through investment principles, commandments, myths. And these are all the basics that I've took from years of doing courses, internships, reading books. There's a couple of lessons and basic principles that if anyone follows, it's not luck that you're going to create wealth. It's just, these things are simple. I say they're simple, not easy. They're almost too simple that people skip the basics. It's like in the gym. I go to the gym all the time. People are so weak. They're like, can't even do a pull-up, Brand, but they skip all the basics. They just want to do these fancy exercises and can't even do a push-up, couldn't even do a one-arm push-up, like, pretty basic move. Couldn't even do a pull-up, and it's just like they skip the basics. And if you skip the basics, you can never get too far. Look at an Olympian training. What do they do? 90% of it's the basics. And then we wonder why they're so strong, or they're so athletic, because they nail the basics. The basics never get old, but a lot of us never get the basics. By design, I don't think school teaches us any of this stuff, because our school system is set up to keep us all as workers and feed the machine. And that's why you have to go out of your way and make it your business to learn and understand these things. We go through portfolio structuring of how you build your portfolio, and this is all specialized in digital assets or crypto assets or Bitcoin. We go through Bitcoin in depth, so you really understand it and you can really understand its future. There's hours and hours and hours of content within that. We go through tax and efficiency, and we go through you, the asset, because it's all about yourself. It's all about your energy. There's no difference between a billionaire and someone who's not really. Like, they all have fucking arms and legs and a head. It's just the actions that we take. And you could say it's resources, but like most successful people, you'll see that they came from nothing. They came from hardship as opposed to coming from privilege. That was their motivation, was the hardship. So the better we understand that, the more we can work on ourselves to have, if we want financial success or we want free time. Yeah, we do 2 Zooms. We get some guests on sometimes when we can. We have a WhatsApp group, and that's just daily content of sharing stuff and support and a bit of crack. We do some in-person events as well. We've had a couple of them, and that just helps building community and networking, because the reason I go to workshops, internships, it's not about being there listening to some lad waffling on the stage. It's more the connections, the business connections, the friendships I make outside in the corridors and after the event. That's where the value is. That's where the ideas come from. That's where the little, oh, you do that, and oh yeah, maybe we can do something together. Let's have a talk about that, and suddenly boom, there's a whole business going out of that. So that's why I'm really a big fan of networking. These are just some coaching things, because if you want more freedom, you need to invest more money, not just in assets. If you don't understand how to invest, it's a waste of time investing into assets. You're better off giving it to a financial advisor, let them retire early. At least they won't lose the money, you hope. Okay, but one of my first coaches, I paid $4,000. That's when I lived in a caravan and I hadn't a pot to piss in. I took all the money I had and gave it to him. And that was a great decision, because it helped me get that business to a 6-figure business. And I said I was fortunate enough to train with Alex before he was a fucking worth hundreds of millions and a viral guy all over all the big podcasts now. I'd say he'll be on Rogan soon. But you wouldn't talk to Alex for 30 seconds for 16 grand now. But to me, again, it wasn't the price. It was just the value that I got out of it. To join our Retire Early community, it's not 500 a week. It's not 500 a month. It's not 250 a month for the course. It's 99 quid. It's okay. It's comes out every month. You get your lessons emailed to you. You do a workshop every week. It's 0 risk. So you can come into the club and you can be like, everyone's too friendly. I'm learning too much. Everyone's too positive. I'm used to being so negative and worried about my future. I don't like this. I want to go back to the negativity. I think I'll watch the news more. Okay? Or you can just buy it and try it, because from the outside, you don't know what we're doing. You just think you do. You'll think, oh, they probably do this and they probably do that and they probably do the other. And I remember doing all that stuff, and it kept me where I was, because I was the fucking expert. I knew what was happening. And then it was only like when I'm like that, the course I done, the $4,000 course, I thought was all fucking sales and marketing. And then I get the thing and he's teaching me how to meditate. That's been a skill that's been with me all my life, like. And I learned that in a course that was going to help me scale a fitness business. Of course, I learned how to sell and market and everything, but Simon taught me all about my mindset and how to manage it and the value in that. So anyway, anyone who's interested in going on, if you are interested in getting into Bitcoin, if you are interested in creating your own plan to retire early and building it yourself and not giving your money away to a pension manager to manage, do that. But manage some of your own money yourself, because I promise you, nobody treats your money as well as you will. All right? Because you are incentivized to treat it the best. But the Retire Early Club, it's 99 quid. And with that, I said I throw in the Bitcoin Bootcamp, okay, which is a half-day workshop. You get that absolutely free. As part of it, the only catch is you have to sign up before 12 o'clock tonight. And all that does is puts a bit of urgency into it, because people procrastinate. I used to procrastinate, got nowhere in life. So now I always try and put incentives for me to act, and reasons, rewards or punishments, whatever. And I just find it gets people to move, because you're getting 250 quid worth of value for free, and you can cancel in 14 days and get your money back, and you get to keep the whole Bitcoin Bootcamp. But if you do want help, if you want my help to go forward in this and get it right, remember, we're in a bear market, meaning the market's down. From my experience, it's not my first bear market. The decisions you make in this market, in this time, this month, is what has the biggest effect on your financial future, financial freedom in the future, rather than wait until everyone's doing it and we're in the next bull run and Bitcoin's ripping again and all the media are talking favorably about it. The whole point of this thing is you buy low okay? And that means you have to be contrarian. That means you have to be doing what other people aren't doing. That means, you know, you are taking action when other people aren't. That means you are buying when other people are selling, you know, and that's difficult to do. As I said, it's pretty simple in thesis, but it's not easy. It's difficult to do, and that's why it's important. But anyway, I'd like to come on. We have a massive group here on the Zoom tonight, so fair play. These are obviously a little bit contrary in the fact that you're entertaining Bitcoin. Let me just stop the share. And just one more thing to mention, if you want personalised help, some people don't like working in a group or they want it all done for them. We have offices and Swords where we consult, or as I say, most of my work is done over Zoom. If you go on to bitcoinwithdinny.com, you can check out our consulting programs, you can check out Retire Early. What I'm going to do now is I'll share the link for the special offer, and then I'll get into a little bit of Q&A and have a chat to you guys. Let me just grab that link from you guys, and I'll be right back. Retire Early Club. Copy. See, this is why it's not Bitcoin, because I can just go command copy, and now the link is there, but the link is here. This is what digital scarcity is. How do you do this now? Chat. Command V. Boom. That's the link to Retire Early Club, guys. If you are interested, don't procrastinate. Get it before 12 o'clock tonight, and you get the half-day bootcamp emailed straight out to you. You can go straight into that content this evening and fast track your success. Let me have a sip of water. I am roasting. Woo! Hands up if anyone has any questions on anything I was talking about. 1 2 1 2. There's the mic. I actually had the mic miles away. Was the sound okay? I forgot I had the mic plugged in for the podcast. What I was going to say, yeah, stick your hand up there if you have a question. You can ask me anything about bootcamp, about what we do in Retire Early Club, about Bitcoin, about any other shitcoin you want. Go ahead there. Any hands up? Any hands up? Any hands up? I don't see any hands. Excellent. I'm going to get a light night tonight. But let me see. I'll allow you to unmute there if I can. And then you can... Now, it's going to say ask all to unmute, but don't unmute yourself unless you have an actual question. So maybe you'll be able to chirp up if you have something to say. Other than that, I will just say, if you're interested in grabbing the offer, just Google Bitcoin with Dinny, go to Retire Early Club, see the course for 99, buy the course for 99, you get the workshop emailed to you, and you will be you'll be on the workshop tomorrow as well. You'll be going straight into the WhatsApp group. Just drop us an email and say, Dinny, I'm in. And excuse me, but we have a good workshop planned for tomorrow with the guys, and you'll be starting your journey. James, set up my Moon wallet today. I like it. Yeah, the Moon wallet is awesome. So simple to use. They're really class, yeah. And you've got Lightning on that as well. My first, the first time I was using that was at Bitcoin Amsterdam. You know, because in Ireland you don't really buy anything for Bitcoin, but it's just a little wallet. You set it up on your phone. You literally go up to the beer tap, scan it, bang, the beer comes out of it. It was so fast, like, you know, not like putting your PIN in or anything like that. It's faster than a Visa card, like, and again, that's why it's inevitable. This is a currency that goes across all borders. You know, if you'd use PayPal, well, you're stuck in PayPal. You can't use it where Revolut is, but with Bitcoin, it just goes everywhere. So it's pretty awesome. Max, thanks for all this free info, Nanda. Hi, Nanda. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Hope all is well. You do this in your sleep now, don't you? No, I haven't actually taught a Bitcoin basics in a while, but hopefully it came out okay and the guys got some value. Lads, anyone any questions? You should have questions. There should be an old question there. You should be like, Dinny, no. Explain this, explain that. Why can't this happen? But if you don't have any questions, it's your loss. Well, someone's bustling up for them. Can you please send that link by email too? I'm having technical issues. Emma, just Google it. Because I won't be able to find your email. I have thousands of them. And I just see your first name there, and your email might need me, Emma. So just Google it, Bitcoin with Dinny. You'll see Retire Early Club. and grab it. I might try and email it out. I have a list of people, so yeah, maybe I'll be able to email it. I'll email it to like.
Dinny, can I ask a question? Is that alright?
Yes. Who's that? Dave.
Thomas.
Thomas, right? Go for Thomas, and then I think Dave has a question.
Yeah. So the Retire Early Club, like, what does it look like? What can we expect if we join it? What do the modules consist of?
You can expect. Do you ever see the Ron Seal ad?
What it says on the tin?
Yeah. You action the steps. You abide by Dinny's 4 golden rules. You do that over time. You retire early.
Okay.
Regardless of what Bitcoin does or doesn't do, because I didn't have Bitcoin when I used those golden rules. I think it's a lot easier now if you actually build Bitcoin into it and build a Bitcoin treasury strategy into it. It's going to be much simpler. It's going to not take half as much work. But yeah, no, it just teaches you basic financial education so you're able to live below your means and manage a portfolio and build more assets and liabilities and reduce your debts.
Yeah. You say if we were to sign up today, we'd be starting tomorrow?
Yeah, as soon as you sign up, you just get the lessons. They start getting emailed out to you. It's on an automation, but we do a live workshop every 2 weeks. So we've got a workshop on tomorrow if you can make it. It's also recorded and it's posted in the WhatsApp group the day after then, just in case anyone doesn't make the workshop. And in that, we're talking about current events, past events, you know, the macro, what's going on in the now, plus the lessons or whatever stage people are at, because I've got people at all stages in the Retire Early Club.
Brilliant. Sounds great, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. Dave, had you have a question? Dave Loftus.
Hi, Dinny.
What's the crack?
Thanks a million for tonight. Yeah, it was great. Looking forward to doing this for a while. So yeah, no, you orange pilled me a couple of months ago, and I've gone down the rabbit hole. And the further down the rabbit hole I am, the better it is, you know. But there's one question I just can't find an answer to it anywhere. Is, let's say, I know the uniqueness of Bitcoin compared to any other cryptocurrencies, and how decentralized it is, and it's on 100,000 different computers and can't be annihilated. But let's say the likes of somebody like Elon Musk with unlimited wealth, what's to stop him from, let's say, creating his own cryptocurrency and completely decentralizing it and then letting it off? You know, and then not to say that it would be a competitor to Bitcoin, but it wouldn't be then as unique. Like, that's just a question I have that I can't find an answer to.
I'll give you the answer to it. There's nothing to stop anyone creating another Bitcoin, and that's happened. There's been thousands of them. That's where Bitcoin Cash came about. It's an exact copy of Bitcoin. But why doesn't it have the value? Well, the reason it doesn't have the value is because a network is where value is. Like, not all the value, but a huge percentage of value is in a network. So let's just say we're on Zoom. What happens if someone sets up a different Zoom that's just slightly better? Well, like, I've got my account on this Zoom. You know, I've got all my links on all my websites. There's no incentive for me to move. Or what happens if someone sets up a new Facebook that's exactly the same as the Facebook we have? Maybe it just has a little bit less ads. Is everyone going to migrate to it? No, because our network is here. All my friends are here. All my businesses are here. You know, I've built up all these followers on this one. So it's the network effect that people need to consider because that's already happened. That's why there's 20,000 altcoins. Some of them are exact copies of Bitcoin, but they just don't have the network effect. They've got a few people with megaphones in their hands saying, look at this one. This is better. We only have 10 million coins. And everyone's looking at them going, nah, I'm not quite interested. There's more risk for me to leave this one because this network has grown traction and that network doesn't really have anyone there. And I'd just be going there hoping that everyone followed me. So Bitcoin's inception, okay, sometimes it's described as the Immaculate Conception, and that only gets to happen once. So Bitcoin came about, and before it was monetized, before it was worth anything, it decentralized itself through the world. Okay, so if someone sets up a new cryptocurrency, that means it's 100% centralized. How do they decentralize it? You know, like Ethereum. Ethereum is the second cryptocurrency, but it's hugely centralized. Like, it's basically, I think, the six servers or something that are basically have most of the power of the whole network. So, you know, Bitcoin only got to happen once, and it's happened. So it's impossible to recreate that magical situation where this thing spread itself throughout the world before it had any value. You know, it was operated, people ran it just for fun, just because they're computer geeks and and it was just it wasn't even a monetary experiment. It was just an experiment. Some people thought it could be digital cash, but most people, it was just like a computer network that they were playing with.
Yeah, no, that kind of, that's good. That was something I couldn't really get an answer to on Google, so I'm glad it was in your brain.
Yeah, the network is the value, and it's not to say that there can't be another one, but it's just like it's so difficult. It would have to be 100 times better than Bitcoin, or 1,000 times better for people to migrate. And yeah, it's just like, yeah, I can't see any situation where that happens because it just, you got your chance at it. We had our chance at it. Satoshi, the unknown creator of Bitcoin, he created it, he released it into the wild, and he disappeared. If someone creates some new coin, well, they're the charismatic leader. They're the single point of failure. They're the person who maybe has the back door, who's written the code, who has all the secrets, whereas Bitcoin is all open source and community owned, as opposed to owned by an individual or an entity who's created it. So, Bitcoin will have a competition that's called the central bank digital currency, the digital euro, digital dollar. But the irony is that although they're both digital, they're polar opposites. One is controlled by a centralized entity, a government or a country. Bitcoin is controlled by no one. A CBDC, everything is tracked and traced. There's zero privacy with Bitcoin. There's privacy and anonymity. With a CBDC, there's an unlimited monetary policy, or the monetary policy can change. With Bitcoin, it's a fixed monetary policy. So as we trend towards digital euros and dollars, which are guaranteed we're going to get there, that's no conspiracy theory. Just put it into Google and you'll see that all the central banks are working on them. That's going to be an even bigger marketing plan for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is money that no one controls. You don't know in 5 or 10 years time, you mightn't be allowed to eat steak. Steak could be bad for the environment because cows are farting, and that could be wrecking the planet. And you could think that's complete nonsense or not, but if you'd like to eat steak, you probably will need to own some Bitcoin, because your euros mightn't work to buy it. You can buy the crickets with the euros. And maybe I'm half joking here, but that's the reality of it. Bitcoin is permissionless money, and central bank digital currency. We can see in China, they can't even protest because their money's turned off. And not just their money, but their families. So it's just like that's not a democracy. But I suppose China's not a democracy. But we're all trending towards fiat currencies. They have to trend more towards having more control over what people spend their money on. It's the only way that Ponzi can continue, if you can dictate where the money flow goes. As I understand that, I see it's inevitable and predictable that we're going to digital money, and there'll be more controls over it, and much less freedom. And that's why I own Bitcoin. Not just like, you own Bitcoin for 100 different reasons. That's just one of the great advantages of owning a money no one controls. When weekly buying Bitcoin, should you be taking profits? Mel is asking, should you be taking profits? Taking profits? No, because taking profits is trading. I'll give you an example here, just a little practical example. In 2017, I had buddies and they invested 10 grand, and they bought some Bitcoin, they bought some Ethereum, and then they traded it, 5 grand of each. Then they traded and they got involved in ICOs, and then they tried to take some profits, and they were just trying to beat the market. They live at home with their parents today as 40-year-olds. Okay? Didn't work out so well. Had they have just held the two assets, they'd be sitting on, I can't remember now what the exact figure is. It used to be 3 million. It's probably only $1 million. It's probably only $1.5 million now. Had they have just held the asset over time. Remember, the great investors, they just hold things. They don't sell them, they don't trade them. They just buy things that are scarce and they hold them for a long period of time. So for me, no, I don't think you should try and trade, because there's a 9% chance you're not going to make any money, and you don't want to be still living in your parents at 40 if you can avoid it. But I know it's difficult not to avoid it because of the price of property, and you're incentivized to try and make fast money, unfortunately, when you're put in that situation. But no, for me, what we do is, if we're setting up a trading portfolio, it's totally separate than our investment portfolio. I don't trade, tried a bit of trading. I didn't beat the 90% failure rate when it soon became apparent. Leave this to the professionals. I can just invest and it's easier. And then instead of sitting on a computer screen, I can go walking, or I can go surfing, or I can do what I want to do. Because investing is quite passive once you set it up and you do the work. You just let the market do the work for you, as opposed to you having to put the energy into managing the trades. Yeah, so that's my take on that, Mel. Oh yeah. Happy days. Guys, is there anything else? We'll maybe take one more question if there is one. Did I see a hand going up there? Candice, what's the crack? Can you unmute yourself?
Hi there.
Okay, it's not Candice.
Canis. Well,
Canis, sorry, I'm dyslexic fool.
you're okay. Sorry. I have a question. Just
There's no D there, Dinny, like. Canis, go on. Sorry, man.
I'm just thinking of the risk of the big bankers coming in and trying to manipulate the market. Is it too late for that now, or do you think it's after getting too much adoption by the common man now at this stage? Or, you know, there's talk in some circles that, you know, it's Bitcoin, it's a waste of time because big bankers will come in and manipulate it and destroy it, maybe. But what do you say to that? Do you think there's a risk of that, or what's your view?
Not really. Like, Bitcoin is already heavily manipulated with leverage and all this other stuff, and it's just because it's early in the asset class. Like, there's 19 million Bitcoin already in circulation. There's only 2 million to be argued over. You know, so it's possibly too late. Most of the Bitcoin sits in the hands of people who are Bitcoiners, people who are here for Bitcoin, not here to destroy Bitcoin. And regardless, it doesn't matter, because I mentioned it at the start, in that every year the base of hodlers grows, and that just means the amount of entities, of individual entities who are holding Bitcoin, it just keeps expanding. Okay, so bankers can go in, they can manipulate, and they can go up and down, but like a true Bitcoiner doesn't care about the price of Bitcoin. Like, I'm not interested in the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin can go to $3,000 and it doesn't change my investment thesis or my conviction in the thing. And there's millions of us, okay? And there's more of us every day. So it doesn't matter to us. We understand the volatility. We've been through this before. We've seen the manipulation. And we know just by holding this thing over time, we get much more financial freedom in our future. And we understand that the volatility, the pain, the short-term pain of seeing, oh, my Bitcoin is worth less today. It's like, damn, but like 2 years ago, it went up 400%. So I can stomach a 30% pullback. You know, and you sort of learn that lesson over time. So it's already manipulated. It's part of the journey, the volatility. No one can really control Bitcoin. Like, no one can come and take control of the Bitcoin. They could have done that in the very beginning, when it was centralized, when it was just starting. But nobody did, because no one realized its true potential. What's that?
Too late now, pretty much.
Yeah, it's too late. But like, don't get me wrong, they'll play games, they'll put leverage on it, and that's why we get this massive volatility and crashes and stuff. And that's why, you know, in our last bull run, you know, Bitcoin should have hit 100 grand, but there's just too much leverage, too much messing, too much bullshit. And like, Wall Street screwed it up. But like, that's what they do. They're greedy. They don't care about the mission. They don't care that it's helping people in Africa. They just care about making another couple of million. But that's the thing about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is money for your enemies just as much as it's money for your allies. That's why it's apolitical money, and no one controls it. But everyone can use it, even if they're your enemy, and you have to be okay with that. But ultimately, everyone regrets selling Bitcoin over time, just like my buddies. If had they just have held that Bitcoin, you know, and maybe Wall Street will regret selling their Bitcoin in 10 years' time. They're like, oh, we made a couple of million, but Jesus, we could have been sitting on a couple of billion had we just held the Bitcoin. They might learn that lesson over time, as everybody does, that, you know, Bitcoin's the scarcest thing on the planet. You're incentivized just to hold it. You've got the scarcest thing on the planet, and every human is just looking for scarcity. Food, shelter, scarcity. They're the three things we need. Good question, Canis. Sorry for calling these.
Sorry. I have a second question there. Just with just knowing the CBDCs are coming into play. So for anyone that doesn't want to opt into that system, it's like, you know, it's a slave system, really. Like, you know, so
you won't have a choice.
Is there an opportunity to kind of trade in the world with Bitcoin
and also have your CBDC account, or what way do you see that going to operate?
Yeah,
I suppose.
yeah, there'll be two. Like, we live in the Western world, and we're fortunate. It's a freer society, but you won't have a choice whether you want to use the digital euro or not. Just like there was a lot of people in Ireland didn't want the euro when we were on the punt, but we went on to it, and overnight the punt became worthless. Okay, so it's not going to be a question of if we want it or if we don't want it. It's going to trend that way. It doesn't matter. Okay, just like I see businesses all the time now. It's just like, no, we don't take cash. Only tap, 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 tap. Everyone wants to tap. It's more convenient. Humans only trend towards technology. Why are we going to carry around these fucking coins and things in 30 years' time? We're just not. It's just going to be all digitized. But the difference is that the digital euro will be, as you say, some people will consider it like, and it can be, it's too much centralized power that, you, you know, but we're going to get there. We have to get there while we're on a fiat system. But by having Bitcoin, you give yourself optionality. You have an amazing investment asset, but you also have a money you can spend, the money that you can own. And every year, more and more businesses accept Bitcoin. So, I think rather than worrying about things or having to choose one side or the other, I just accumulate a little bit of Bitcoin, and I also accumulate euros, because that's, my local pub doesn't accept Bitcoin. My local cafe doesn't accept Bitcoin. Euros are for spending, and I accumulate Bitcoin as more of a savings technology for the future. And you need to figure out what exposure level you want. You don't need to be 100% of your savings in Bitcoin. You can be. Some people are. I wouldn't think you need to be anything like that, but you can figure out your percentage allocation. It might be 0.5% or 1% of your savings go into it, or whatever. Everyone makes up a different strategy. But yeah, no, my theory on that is that the digital euro is guaranteed. So we can kick and scream all we want, but it's going to come. It's inevitable, I suppose.
Okay, that's fine, thanks.
Lovely stuff. What time are we now? Oh my god, we're over the hour. Guys, I'm going to log off. Anyone's jumping in to retire early, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the workshop or in the WhatsApp group. Once you sign up, you should get an email to you with a link to get yourself into the WhatsApp group, and the lessons will start dropping into your inbox. And you'll start your journey going from absolutely knowing nothing. Don't think it's like, people are like, what I'll do is I'll learn a bit and then I'll do the course. Idiot. Right? That's like cutting your hair and then going to the barber, and the barber going, what the fuck have you done to this? I have to fix it now. I'm charging for 2 haircuts. All right? The job is, that's what people used to say in the fitness business. I'm going to go jogging first and then I'll come down to you. I'm like, you bleeding idiot. If you could lose the weight, you would have done it. Get in here. Our job is to fix you. So yeah, get yourself straight in. We'll sort you out. We'll take you from zero to make sure you don't go down all the wrong rabbit holes, and give you good education, give you good value. And if we're not giving you good value, just get your money back. You have nothing to lose. Guys, have a super evening. Just Google Bitcoin with Dinny. Maybe I'll throw an email out to some of the guys. Or if you're looking for the link, just drop me an email and I'll fire it on to you. But anyway, it's been good to chat to you tonight. Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is freedom. Bitcoin is a very positive asset. And it's not a get rich quick. It has risk, like every investment asset. But it's exciting to learn about it and understand it and realize that the Bitcoin train hasn't left. In 10 years' time, there'll still be an opportunity in Bitcoin. Because for years, people have been thinking they're too late to Bitcoin. And that's why they, end up owning shitcoins and all things. But for now, I will say good evening and thanks everyone for being here. Have a super Wednesday night. And if you like the content, be sure and follow the podcast where you can on YouTube. Just go to Bitcoin with Dinny, give an L, subscribe. It helps the algorithm. And thanks for all your attention tonight, guys. And if any of you have any questions or you want to do anything personalized or one-on-one, just shoot out and give me a message. Or if you have any other questions that weren't covered, drop me a message and I can answer them personally to you. Have a super evening. Can't even talk now. Guys, Dinny out. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to chatting to you all soon. Take care. Big crew on. Sweet, guys. Thanks. Dinny out. End meeting. YouTube. Facebook. You are still here. I thought I'd just leave the live stream on there for the crack frizz. Hope you got some value out of that. Some of you are well down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and if some of you aren't, hopefully that helped a little bit. I know you couldn't see the slides and the notes, but hopefully you got a bit of content. If you haven't hit the like button, that's all we ask. A little like. Dinny out. And